Hello dear kids, welcome back to our social science class. See, we have already learned that Magadha became the most powerful of all the Mahajanapadas. The rulers of the Mauryan dynasty extended its boundaries from Magadha to the east to Kandahar in the northwest to deep south. So, in this chapter, we are going to learn about the first empire, Mauryas, then the Ashoka, the great ruler, and about Ashoka's Dhamma and Mauryan administration and the decline of Mauryas. So, let's learn together. So, from kingdom to empire. A vast kingdom is also known as an empire. So, what do you mean by empire? A vast kingdom is known as an empire. Magadha under the Mauryan dynasty became India's first empire. In order to control a huge empire, the kings needed large army and administrator. So, in order to control a huge empire, the kings needed large army and administrators. So, let us see about Chandragupta Maurya. Chandragupta Maurya. The Mauryan dynasty was founded by Chandragupta Maurya in 321 BCE. Remember, the Mauryan dynasty was founded by Chandragupta Maurya in 321. It's easy to remember, you just read backward 1, 2, 3 or 3, 2, 1. So, 321 BCE. So, it is believed that Chanakya, you have already learned. So, it is believed that Chanakya was his mentor and guide. Okay. So, Chanakya is also known as great Kautilya or Vishnugupta. So, he is the author of the book Arthashastra. We have already learned it in the first chapter. Who is the author of Arthashastra? Chanakya or Kautilya. And he is the author of the book Arthashastra, which advises the king on the art of administration. Chandragupta overthrew the last Nanda ruler. Do you know who is that? Dhanananda. Yes, and occupied his capital Pataliputra. Then he continued to capture territories and gradually moved towards central India. Then Chandragupta captured the areas of northwest India after Alexander's departure. Then he defeated Seleucus Nicator. He is the Alexander's general between 305 to 303 BCE. Chandragupta made a gift of 500 elephants to the Greek general and obtained the territory across the river Indus. Okay, then Seleucus sent his ambassador. Megasthenes lived in the Mauryan court for many years. And also Chandragupta Maurya established a big empire. It included important cities like Pataliputra, then Takshila and Ujjain. Okay. Then Pataliputra was the capital of the Mauryan Empire. So, which is the capital of Mauryan Empire? Pataliputra was the capital of the Mauryan Empire. Then Takshila and Ujjain were the capitals of important provinces. Okay. Then both these cities were located on important trade routes. Then Takshila was the gateway to northwest and central Asia. while Ujjain was on the route from the north to South India. Next, we are going to learn about Bindusara. Okay, Bindusara succeeded Chandragupta in 297 BCE. Great. Then he is said to have conquered the land between the two seas, presumably the Arabian Sea and the Bay of Bengal. Then he campaigned in the Deccan, extending Mauryan control in the peninsula as far south as Mysore. Then by the time of his death in 272 BCE, the entire subcontinent had practically come under Mauryan control. Okay. Then the only area that remained hostile and unconquered was Kalinga, coastal Odisha on the east coast. So it was Ashoka the Great, his son. So who is the father of Ashoka then? Yes, Bindusara. Then it was Ashoka the Great, that is his son, who finally conquered the occupied Kalinga. Okay, so let us learn about the famous, most prominent, inspiring ruler, that is Ashoka the Great. Ashoka is by far the most famous of the Mauryan kings. Okay. He left behind accounts of his reign in the form of inscriptions, and these inscriptions written in the Brahmi script. The inscriptions in Ashoka's rule was written in Brahmi script, were his messages to people in the far-flung areas. Okay. Then he inscribed these messages on stone pillars and rock edicts. He inscribed these messages on stone pillars and rock edicts, and the stone pillars were carved out from rocks and then polished. These pillars were crowned with capitals. They included lions and bulls. The lion capital found at Sarnath is the national emblem of America? No, it is the national emblem of India. The Ashoka Chakra, you know Ashoka Chakra, carved in the lion capital, is also a part of India's national flag. Good. Then the Mauryan Empire for the first time brought political unity and administrative uniformity to India during the period of Ashoka. The Mauryas organized a very elaborate system of administration to rule such a vast empire. Then we know about the Mauryan administration from various sources such as the edicts of Ashoka, the Indica of Megasthenes, and the Arthashastra of Chanakya. Then conquest of Kalinga. Let's see the conquest of Kalinga. The most important events of Ashoka's reign were the conquest of Kalinga and the subsequent adoption of Buddhism by Ashoka. Okay. So he is perhaps the only king in the history to renounce conquest after winning a war. So the horror of war was described by the king in one of his inscriptions. Okay. 150,000 people were deported. 150,000 people were deported. 100,000 were killed and many more died. This war caused much suffering to the people. The Brahmins and the Buddhist monks, it's not only the common people but also to the Brahmins and the Buddhist monks. This caused Ashoka much grief and remorse. You know what is remorse? It is a deep regret. Then he abandoned the policy of physical conquest in favor of the policy of Dhamma. And now let us see what is the meaning of Dhamma. The word Dhamma is the Prakrit form of the Sanskrit word Dharma, meaning religious duty. So what is the meaning of the word Dharma? It means religious duty. However, Ashoka's Dhamma was not a religious faith. It did not include any rituals or performance of sacrifices. Then the Dhamma was related to the norms of social behavior. Important. Dhamma was related to norms of social behavior. Okay. The emperor believed that it is the moral duty of the king to teach his subjects these norms. So let us see what are the reasons for Dharma or Dhamma. Ashoka adopted the policy of Dhamma because of the number of problems that he faced. Let's see what are they. The Mauryan Empire included people from different religions. Okay, so sometimes conflicts occurred among different religious groups. Okay, so first one is the Mauryan Empire included people from different religions, and sometimes what happened? Conflicts occurred among different religious groups. And the second is people sacrificed animals. People sacrificed animals. And the third, people treated their elders, slaves and servants badly. Very important. People treated their elders, slaves and servants badly. Then the fourth, there were conflicts among the families and amongst neighbors. Okay, as a result, the emperor felt the need to solve these problems. And now let us see what are the principles of Dhamma. Ashoka in his various edicts has explained some of the basic principles of his Dhamma. Let us see. Obedience to one's mother and father, elders, teachers and other respectable people. Okay, obedience to one's mother and father, elders, teachers and other respectable people. And second, proper treatment of ascetics. Proper treatment of ascetics. What do you mean by ascetics? Who lead a simple life. Ascetics means who lead a simple life, especially one who abstains from normal pleasure life. Okay, that is ascetics. So proper treatment of ascetics, relatives, slaves, servants and dependents, the poor and the miserable, friends, acquaintances and companions. Do you know what is acquaintances? That means a person known to one but usually not a close friend. So that is what acquaintances. Okay. So then the next is abstinence from killing or injuring of all living beings. Okay. And the next is spending and accumulating little wealth. Spending and accumulating little wealth. And the last is truthfulness, morality and purity of heart. And let us see what are the welfare measures of Ashoka's administration. Okay. So in his Dhamma, in Ashoka's Dhamma, he attempted a careful synthesis of various norms which were prevalent during his reign. Okay. Non-violence was to be practiced by giving up war and conquest, and also as a restraint on the killing of animals. Then the policy of Dhamma also included certain welfare measures like planting of trees, digging of wells and construction of canals. Then Ashoka also prohibited conducting of ceremonies and sacrifices regularly. Okay, and he also built rest houses on the highways, and he also built hospitals for both humans and animals. Really interesting how he spread the concept of Dhamma. Ashoka adopted several measures for the spread of Dhamma. He engraved the principles of Dhamma on rock and pillar edicts. And there are 14 rock edicts and 7 pillar edicts. Remember the number? There are 14 rock edicts and 7 pillar edicts. So in doing so, he was trying to establish direct communication with his subjects. And these inscriptions were written in Prakrit language, which was the local language of the people. And also he appointed several officers called Dhamma Mahamatta. Okay, very important. Ashoka appointed special officers for spreading Dhamma called Dhamma Mahamatta. Okay, and these officers went from one place to another. Why? To teach people about the policies of Dhamma. Then these officers were also instructed by the king to read these edicts to those people who were unable to read. Okay, and he even sent messengers to other countries like Sri Lanka, Syria, Greece and Egypt to spread Dhamma. Okay, and now let us see the Mauryan administration. The Mauryan Empire for the first time brought political unity and administrative uniformity to India during the period of Ashoka. The Mauryas organized a very elaborate system of administration to rule such a vast empire. We know about the Mauryan administration from various sources such as the edicts of Ashoka, then the Indica of Megasthenes and the Arthashastra of Chanakya. Then let us see, how did Ashoka control a vast empire? See, to administer such a vast empire, Ashoka adopted different types of governance for different areas. So in the areas surrounding the capital of Pataliputra, the emperor was in direct control. The capital city of Pataliputra, the emperor was in direct control. Okay, then he appointed officials to collect taxes from the people who lived in the villages and town in that area. Then the other areas were divided into different provinces. Okay, and these provinces were ruled from their capital cities. For example, the cities of Takshila or Ujjain were the provincial capitals. Okay, so you can expect a question, examples of provincial capitals. What you will say? Takshila and Ujjain. Okay, then the emperor was helped by many ministers. He alone cannot do the things. So he was helped by many ministers and members of the royal family. And the area under the direct control was ruled by the officials directly appointed by the ruler. Then many of these officials were given salaries, and the provinces were ruled by the royal princes. And these princes were appointed as governors, and they followed local customs and traditions to govern the provinces. And let us see the taxation. That means, how did they collect the tax? The maintenance of such a huge army required a massive income in order to give salaries to the soldiers. And so it required a massive income and a large number of officials for collecting taxes. Okay, therefore, apart from extracting regular revenue from the peasantry, the Mauryan state undertook and regulated numerous economic activities which earned it a huge income. So let us see, these activities included the production of different articles, then royal land holdings, then trade in different commodities, exploitation of mineral resources, then the utilization of forest wealth, sale of liquor and manufacture of arms. These are the extract from these areas, they extract regular revenue. And the Mauryan government also provided irrigation facilities to the peasantry. And the Arthashastra refers to a water tax which was regularly collected wherever the state assisted in providing irrigation. So one of Chandragupta's governors, that is Pushigupta, was responsible for building a dam across a river near Girnar in western India, resulting in a large lake to supply water for irrigation. Then Ashoka also got many rock-cut viharas and stupas constructed. Our last topic is decline of Mauryas. The Mauryan rulers continued to rule for about half a century after the death of Ashoka in 232 BCE. Then the disorder that emerged in the administrative machinery after the death of Ashoka is regarded as one of the important factors for the disintegration of the Mauryan Empire. Then Ashoka was succeeded by weak rulers who lost control of their territories. The enormous expenditure on the army led to the financial crisis, and the invasions in the northwest added to the disorder in the administration. So let us encapsulate the reasons behind the decline of Mauryas. The first one, disorder in administrative machinery after the death of Ashoka. Second point, Ashoka was succeeded by weak rulers. And the third, the enormous expenditure on the army. And the last is invasions in the northwest. So these are the reasons behind the decline of the Mauryas. Children, do you know, you can defeat anyone, but you cannot be a winner. Well, true victory lies not in defeating your opponent, but winning them over. Which means not by destroying anyone or anything, but by making each of them and every one of them the best choice for you and for the world. So when you win without this, the balance of joy of victory is imbalanced by the pain of the defeated. So this is what Ashoka has learned from his life. Ashoka has also taught us the great lesson of treating each and every creature with compassion and love. Not just the human beings, but also every living creature. So he had embarked the policy of earning the respect from all by learning respect all. By learning to respect all. So let us not strive to reinforce our position or power by defeating anyone. Rather, you have to be a better you than you of the past. So dear kids, all the best. Take care. Bye bye.